The Midnight Grasp, the entity that came for me. Based on true story.
Hello? Come with me. Go with me!
Do you believe in the veil? The thin, shimmering line that separates our safe, waking world from the abyss of things that aren't supposed to be here? You might not. I didn't either. I believed in gravity, and the taste of good whiskey, and the familiar creaks of the old row house where I live with my mother. But something punctured that veil. Something stepped through, and it knew my name. It didn't come to spook me with rattling chains or cold spots. It didn't want to possess me. It wanted me to go with it. What follows is the single most terrifying 20 minutes of my existence. It's an evening that started with laughter and ended with a fight for my soul. It's a story I have never told anyone before today, because when I finally told the two people I trust most, they joked about it. Listen closely. This is the account of the Midnight Grasp, and why I will never sleep with my bedroom door unlocked again. It started as a completely ordinary Friday. I had the evening off, which meant no responsibilities, no early alarms. My plan was simple: decompress. I'm fortunate, I know, to live at home. The arrangement works. I help my mother, and I get the top floor to myself. That night, she had a friend visiting, Sarah. I could hear them downstairs in the living room, their voices rising and falling in familiar rhythm. I could track their movements by the squeaks in the floorboards. Creak, creak, thump. The kitchen door. Silence, settling onto the sofa. And then the distinctive double pop of their favorite red wine being corked. I retreated upstairs to my sanctuary. I had already poured myself a glass of the good stuff, a 12-year single malt that I usually save for celebrations. Tonight, it was a celebration of survival. Another week done. I settled into my worn armchair with a book, the amber liquid glowing under my reading lamp. The first few glasses went down smoothly. I felt that golden bloom of warmth spread through my chest, the tension in my neck finally letting go. The sounds downstairs grew fainter, merging into a soft, comforting murmur. It felt like home. It felt safe. I finished the dram. I felt warm. I felt fine. I went into the bathroom to brush my teeth, catching my reflection. I looked tired, but happy. A minor achievement unlocked. I went to bed around 11:30 p.m. That's where things went wrong. You know how sleep usually works. You close your eyes, time skips, and you wake up. This didn't happen. I found myself in that wretched twilight zone where your mind is screaming, sleep, but your body is vibrating with leftover adrenaline, or perhaps residual whiskey warmth. I lay on my back, the whiskey now a low, dull thud behind my eyes, listening to the house settle. Creak, pop. The sounds from the living room had long stopped. My mother and Sarah must have called it a night. The darkness of my room was total. I stared at the ceiling, trying to focus on my breathing, trying to drift. It happened in the silent space between one blink and the next. I know what I saw. I wasn't dreaming. I was awake, struggling to sleep, and my eyes snapped open. He was there. He stood in the corner of my room, by the closet where the shadows were the thickest. But this was a different shadow. It had substance. It was a man. A big man. Broad-shouldered and tall. His shape was outlined against the absolute darkness, darker than the night itself. He was dressed entirely in black. I could make out a long, heavy coat and a wide-brimmed black hat that obscured his features entirely. He was standing, perfectly still. My first instinct, the logical daylight part of my brain, instantly dismissed it. You're drunk. You're overtired. It's sleep paralysis. It's hallucinations. I blinked hard, expecting the shape to dissolve into my jacket draped over a chair, or the door itself. I blinked. I focused my eyes. The shape remained. It was solid. And it was watching me. I realized with sick clarity that I could feel its attention, It was a pressure in the air, a physical weight on my chest. I sat bolt upright, my heart hammering against my ribs so hard I thought it might crack one. "Who are you?" I croaked. The whiskey voice was gone, replaced by a dry, tight gasp. The figure said nothing. It did not move. It did not shift its weight. But the intention, the will of the thing, slammed into me. I felt it as a physical imperative. It didn't speak words. It projects a thought, a command that went straight into my mind, bypassing my ears. "Hello. Come with me. Go with me now. You need to go." It was calm, utterly resolute, a complete certainty that what it wanted was going to happen. I stared, paralyzed, my entire reality fractured. There was no sleep paralysis. I was wide awake and staring at the impossible. "No," I whispered. "No, go away." The figure in black finally moved. Slowly, agonizingly slowly, it raised its right arm. It was extending a hand toward me. The glove on the hand, if it was a glove, was also black, and the texture, even in the dim light, it looked wrong. Like the weathered, ancient leather of a long-dead creature, or a grotesque approximation of skin. It matched the menacing, scaly texture. The command pressed harder. "Come with me." The hand reached the edge of my bed. Part 3. The fight for the leg. This is where the nightmare cemented itself as flesh and blood. The man in black leaned forward. The wide brim of his hat dipped, and I saw nothing. No face. Only a mask of black void where features should be. And then, that impossibly black hand shot out. He gripped my left forearm. The physical sensation was devastating. It was cold. A deep, abyssal cold that bypassed the whiskey warmth, bypassed my skin, and settled deep into the bone. The grip was strong, not human strong. It was an industrial vice. I felt the bone in my arm begin to groan. I screamed. A raw, primal howl of terror. I pulled back, putting my whole body weight into it, wrenching my arm. The figure didn't budge. He absorbed my struggle as easily as a wall absorbs a tap. He was rooted to the spot, holding my wrist, pulling downward. He was anchoring me, preparing for a longer drag. I kicked at the hand with my right foot, but it was like kicking stone. The entity in the coat and hat just loomed, unmoving, and that silent thought pressure increased. "Don't fight. You're coming." This was no hallucination. My arm throbbed with white-hot pain where the grip held it. This was real. This was happening. I started to fight. I punched the air where the torso should be, but it felt hollow, cold, like hitting a thick winter coat draped over emptiness. I threw my legs, thrashing wildly. I managed to wrench my hand free for one glorious brief second. I threw my body toward the nightstand, reaching for anything. A heavy book, my lamp, desperate for a weapon. But before I could close my fist around the base of the metal lamp, the pressure on my legs shifted. The thing was fast. I felt a second grasp, this one different. It was smaller, lower, and harder. It felt sharp. Something clamped onto my right ankle. This time there was no black glove. The sensation was immediate and raw. It felt like ancient, hard, clawed scales digging into my skin, like gripping the hand. The pain was sharp and visceral. It dug in deep. He grabbed my ankle and tugged. My weight shifted instantly. I was lying across the width of the bed, and with one effortless motion he dragged my upper body to the edge of the mattress. Panic turned to a mindless, vibrating white light. I was screaming constantly. "No, no, Mother, someone help me! He's taking me!" I thrashed. I kicked the foot that was already holding me with my free leg. The grip tightened, the claws digging in deeper, grinding against the bone. He dragged me another foot. My torso was hanging off the bed now. I saw the dark floor coming for me. I held onto the mattress, my fingers digging into the fabric until the stitches popped. I clawed at the bed sheets. My knuckles were white. I was fighting for inches. He was winning by feet. Every inch I lost was another step toward an unnameable oblivion. I knew, deep in my soul, past the fear, past the whiskey, past the pain, that if he dragged me into the hallway, If he pulled me down the stairs, I was gone. I was never coming back. The struggle felt endless, a blur of cold, clawed pressure, raw pain, and a silent, terrifying will trying to compel me. I fought. I kicked. I howled for an end that wouldn't come. Come. I screamed again, a raw, ragged sound, my throat bleeding, my grip on the mattress failing. I felt the final, definitive tug on my leg, a strength that defied everything I knew. My whole upper body left the mattress. I saw the dark doorway of my bedroom looming. Now. And then, the impossible happened. The tension broke. The force pulling my leg vanished instantly. My own resistance, which had been maximum, sent me sprawling. My body slammed against the edge of the nightstand, and I collapsed onto the floor, my right shoulder taking the brunt of the fall. Pain. Hot, stinging pain. Real pain. I lay there for a second, gasping, eyes wide. The room was dark, quiet, perfectly still. The shadow figure was gone. The pressure in my mind was gone. There was no sound of shuffling feet, no closing door. Just silence and the pop of my lamp base settling back onto the nightstand. I stared up at the ceiling from the carpet. My whole body was shaking, a high-frequency tremor I couldn't control. My arm and my ankle throbbed. I lay there for, I don't know how long. Minutes, hours. The whiskey was completely gone, leaving only an exhausted, jagged hangover of pure dread. When I finally caught my breath, I knew one thing. I had to get downstairs. I had to see my mother. I had to know they were real, that this was real, that I hadn't been taken. I struggled to my feet. My legs felt like water. I checked my right ankle, rubbing the place where I swore those claws had been. It felt sore, incredibly sore, with a faint, tender burning, but there were no visible marks, no blood. I opened my bedroom door. The hallway was empty, dark, but not him dark. I stumbled down the stairs, the familiar creaks sounding like thunderclaps. I found them in the living room. My mother and Sarah were sitting right where they had been earlier. Sarah was nursing a final glass of wine. My mother had a fresh coffee. They were laughing. The TV was on a low-volume news channel. The air smelled familiar, a ghost of red wine, faint perfume, and old house dust. They looked happy, peaceful. I burst into the room. I was barefoot, wild-eyed, gasping. "Did you let anyone upstairs?" I demanded, my voice cracked and raw. My mother jumped. She turned and frowned at me. "What? No, of course not. Why are you awake?" "Did you let him in? The man? A big man?" I was vibrating. I couldn't stand still. My mother didn't say a word. She just looked at me. It was a look that mixed concern with a familiar, weary patience. "But Sarah..." Sarah smirked. She looked at me over her wine glass and said, completely casual, "Yep. Big fella." Waved at him right as he went up the steps. I freeze. The world titles. Yep. Sarah took another sip. Gave him the spare key myself. I looked from my mother's silent gaze to Sarah's smirk. She wasn't lying. She was lying. But she believed she was funny. She was joking about my panic. She was minimizing the apocalypse I had just endured because to her, I looked like an overdressed son who drank too much of the good stuff and had a bad dream. But I knew. I stared at her smirk, and for a split second, I didn't see Sarah. I saw the wide brim of a black hat and felt the clawed grasp of a nightmare. "You guys didn't hear any of that?" I asked, my voice barely a whisper. "Any of what, honey?" My mother finally asked. "The fighting. I was screaming. A man, or something else. A demon. It tried to take me. It had me by the leg. I was screaming, no. He wanted me to go with it." My mother put her coffee down. Her look changed. Sarah's smirk faded, just slightly. "You had a nightmare," my mother said softly, the way you speak to a child. "A bad one. Look at you. You had too much whiskey and you had sleep paralysis. There was no one in the house." I felt it. It was strong. Look. I rolled up my sleeve to show the grip marks on my forearm. There was nothing. I rolled up my pant leg to show the claw marks. Nothing. Just smooth skin and the high-octane tremor of adrenaline still pumping through my veins. The pain was fading rapidly, like a memory of a phantom limb. I sat with them for another hour. They tried to reassure me. They used words like vivid imagination and whiskey-fueled dream state. I nodded. I agreed. What else could I do? The pain was gone. The marks were gone. Sarah was back to making jokes about how I needed better hobbies than fighting demons in my pajamas. Eventually, they went to bed. They locked the doors downstairs. I went back upstairs to my top-floor sanctuary. My room looked exactly as it always had. The shadows in the corner by the closet were just closet shadows. The bed was made. The single malt bottle sat on the desk. I closed my door. For the first time in years, I locked it. I didn't sleep again that night. I didn't drink the good stuff. I sat in my armchair, facing that corner closet, with every light in the room blaring. They think it was a dream. They were joking about it downstairs. Sarah joked about opening the door for him. But I know what I fought. I know the strength that defied the living world. I know the thought command that pushed into my mind. I know the cold of that grasp and the pain of those claws on my leg. I was held, and no one heard me. Not my mother, not her friend. And that is what terrifies me the most. That it could come again, in the silence and the whiskey darkness. It knows where I sleep. It knows my room. It knows that even in a house full of people, I am utterly, hopelessly alone when it decides to reach through the veil. Next time, it might not fail the grasp. Next time it might pull me all the way down the stairs and into a place where Sarah's smirks and my mother's coffee won't ever reach me.